As anticipated months ago, the second wave, or tail end of the feigned first wave, is raging throughout the United States of technocracy. Once again, the manipulation and doctoring of elusive case numbers and surging infection rates have pushed little America back into the corner for a period of well-deserved and provoked time out. Yes, the trauma continues, but not only does it appear by way of social engineering media that this round is more severe than what we witnessed in March, but it is also taking on more elevated measures to quell the phantom menace known as COVID-19. What we are witnessing is a wholesale consolidation of America, the destruction of the nation-state experiment, and the deconstruction of the individualist identity. These measures are a requirement for the success of a global socio-economic repositioning. In short, a new world order. Though the infrastructure and technology is already mapped out for this repositioning, the masses are not yet aligned in unison with its offerings. Therefore, the establishing powers, in order to reach their projected goals, must shift the socio-psychological paradigm. This idea of reposition and reset is perfectly described by the efforts of globalist despot Klaus Schwab.
Allow me to give you some examples. The best way to foster a more cohesive and inclusive society, that's our theme, is to provide everybody with a decent job and income. Therefore, we will create here in Davos a public-private platform to provide 1 billion people with the skills needed for the age of the fourth industrial revolution.
The pioneer of the fourth industrial revolution that is prompting our global reset by way of crisis, of course, and urgency for emergency. The fourth industrial revolution, at its heart, is defined by the convergence of the physical, digital, and biological worlds. This is a future where transhumanism, scientism, and hyper-environmentalism, also known as ecofascism, are the building blocks and pillars of the human experience on Earth. With this future societal and industrial structure in mind, we can gather that it requires a specific type of polity to exist, a sense of uniformity and cooperation from its inhabitants. Here we understand the drive for communitarianism, the replacing of individualism with collectivism, and the utilitarian rhetoric entailed within mass campaigns of guilt, shame, and threats of group ostracism, also known as cancel culture. A type of cult group technique is employed here, with us or against us, wrong think versus right think, the requirement for a global shared view of our collective future. Schwab details in his book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution, we must have a comprehensive and globally shared view of how technology is changing our lives and those of future generations, and how it is reshaping the economic, social, cultural, and human context in which we live. How can you accomplish a global-scale cultural consensus without infringing on the humanity of others? Well, you cannot, and force will be a requirement to do so. But not so much an Orwellian force as much as a Huxleyan one. Instead of fist and hammer only, fear, emotion, punishment, and pleasure will be employed. Hence the methods of manipulative persuasion that we have been experiencing in our local network news media. They must shift the public mind in the direction of the global economy. We are witnessing the hive mind operation right now via the current anti-scientific COVID hysteria and the anti-intellectual mission to dismantle law enforcement and systemic racism. I will term this massive psychological operation cultural renewal, renewing culture as we know it, but with a Borg-like function. This is accomplished through media news report conditioning, buttressed by repetition, newspeak terminology, anchoring via symbols, signs, and keywords, and of course, automated via big tech funded and managed algorithms, followed by indirect public support, whereby propaganda is organically cycled through populations by way of voluntary social media participation. Daily posts and shares, hashtags and trends simply become automated vehicles for the dissemination of disinformation. Smart technology and pathological use of devices provide non-stop news media and political engagement with the public. This engagement creates the social engineering platform needed for cultural renewal. In other words, cultural renewal via collective compliance tests and operations in the form of psychological operant conditioning.